Elevate TV, advancing kingdom lifestyle.
Yesu ni wangu, ni wa uzima wa milele. Yesu ni wangu, ni wa uzima wa milele.
Sema Bwana Yesu ni mwokozi wangu, ni wa uzima wa milele.
Yesu ni wangu, ni wa uzima wa milele. Yesu ni wa uzima wa milele.
Ni wa uzima,
Mungu wake ni
wa uzima, ni wa uzima.
Niende wapi na kwako ndo kuna uzima. Wendo wangu wa uzima
Wa milele.
Niende wapi na kwako ndo kuna uzima. Mini wako ni wangu wa uzima.
Wa milele.
Nainua macho milimani, msaada wangu utatoka wapi? Msaada wangu utatoka kwako Bwana. Yesu ni wangu, ni wa uzima wa milele. Yesu ni wangu, ni wa uzima wa milele.
Sema Bwana Yesu ni mwokozi wangu, ni wa uzima wa milele.
Yesu ni wangu, ni wa uzima wa milele. Yesu ni wa uzima wa milele.
Ni wa uzima,
Mungu wake ni
wa uzima, ni wa uzima. Kama binadamu wangekuwa wana control maisha, basi tungepata tabu kibao. Kulikuwa na duka ya kuuza hii uzima, pumzi moja wangekuuzia zaidi ya tao. Devil anakuja kusteal, kill and destroy, but tulikuja ili tupate uzima kibao. Mwambie ashindwe, ametupa mbao. Shindwe kabisa, ajue mimi si wao. Jesus Christ, wewe ndo kiboko yao. Wengine mwisho kwangu mimi, wewe ndo fao.
Yesu ni wa uzima. Yesu ni wa uzima. Mungu wake ni wa uzima. Wendo njia, kweli na uzima. Tumaini langu ni kwako Bwana. Wendo njia, kweli na uzima. Tumaini langu ni kwako Bwana. Yesu ni wangu, ni wa uzima wa milele. Yesu ni wangu, ni wa uzima wa milele.
Yesu ni wangu, ni wa uzima wa milele.
Yesu ni wangu, ni wa uzima wa milele. Yesu ni wa uzima. Yesu ni wa uzima. Yesu ni wa uzima. Ni wa uzima.
Bless all our brigade and souls on the wall, you know. Danny give player represent. Jesus Christ, the truth, the light, and the way, you know. None of them come from the Father. That God show Jesus Christ. Taking the book for the first love. Dream and I want to say that. Bless.
Simba Sound Production.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and good evening. I am your host, Danny Gift, for today's worship clinic and this week's edition, whereby we will be talking about the welfare of a worship leader or a worship minister. Remember, before I introduce to you our guest of the evening, I just want to remind you to make sure, if you are watching us on Facebook, that's on Elevate TV, that's our Facebook page, kindly make sure you share the link with your friends. If your friends are not online, I usually say just make sure you can text them or you can call them. Just holler at them and tell them, by the way, we are live. And for them that are watching us live, on Elevate TV, from where you're watching us from, whether on our website, www.elevatetv.co.ke, or at the comfort of your house, on Elevate TV channel, we have an SMS line down there. So make sure if you have a question or if you have a contribution or any, sentiments that you would want to share with us today, feel free and welcome to share your thoughts, and the Lord will bless you. Also remember to make sure you follow us on all our social media sites. That's at Elevate TV Kenya. That's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and pale YouTube manze, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Alafu notification bell, ring it so that anytime we are live, you get to know and you are alerted. But right about now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce to you an amazing guest that we have for tonight. He is a pastor at Life Church Limuru, and ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you none other than Pastor Ken Njogu.
Asante.
Pastor Ken Njogu.
Yes, sir.
Praise the Lord.
Amen.
It's been a while, man.
Yes, it's
Now I
been
want
a
you to
while.
look at that camera and just introduce yourself again to
Yes.
the audience so that they may know who is Pastor Ken Njogu.
As you have heard, my name is Pastor Ken Njogu. I serve under Life Church International Limuru together with Apostle Tim Wangi. And I am married and blessed with a son. So that's all about me.
Wow.
Yes.
Karibu sana.
Yes.
Wow. Now, we are talking about the welfare of a worship leader.
Yes.
And, we are coming, from a season of the pandemic, and everyone has been affected, from ministers to business, let's say every area of a human being, and especially in Kenya, one way or another, people might say, I have been affected.
Yes.
So, what would be your opening remarks concerning the welfare of a minister?
It is very important that the minister should be well in all areas of his life.
Areas of his life.
Especially if he is a minister and if he is consistently ministering. Because, and I love what you have said about we are just getting out of the pandemic. It is not yet over.
Yeah.
When we look at the economy, how the economy looks like, the economy is not pleasing to all of us. But we who are born again, there is something else we understand. And we being in a third world country, there are things that we have to expect to affect our lives.
Yeah.
And I want to say this. The reason why I love this particular topic is looking at the Bible and looking at when God is creating humanity. The Bible says in the book of Genesis 1:26 that, and God said, let us now create man according to our own image, according to our own likeness. When we look at that particular portion of scripture, the man that God creates there is the spirit man. And when we come to Genesis 2 from verses 6 and 7, we see God creating a human form that will house the spirit. So we are seeing two things. We are seeing him creating the form, and we are also seeing him creating the spirit. But as we look at Genesis 2, we see something that, and God breathes to this man, and the man becomes alive. There is something that we need to understand. Our mental wellness is very key, because our minds is what connects us according to the purpose that God has given us here on earth. It is the mind that helps us connect both with the spiritual realm and also helps us connect with the physical realm.
So the mind is the go-between
Yes.
the body and the spirit.
Yes.
So there is need, as you have heard, for every minister, especially if you're ministering consistently.
Yes.
To be well in every area of your life. And probably you've talked about the mental welfare. When we talk about the mental welfare, we are talking about the well-being, of the mind of a minister.
Yes.
And I was sharing with a minister, a few weeks ago, and this guy is a worship leader, and consistently ministering in church, and this guy was going through depression, and he was so much drowning into it until he had to look for someone to talk to. And what amazed me was that this guy was consistently ministering, even under the condition. And you come to church and you have a congregation and everyone is appreciating and clapping for you. You've blessed us today through the music or the worship ministry. And immediately you walk out of that door, no one, follows up. And someone also said that some of the loneliest people in the world are ministers. That we could be, ministering, and we have, mental disorders. And so that I want us to talk about what are some of the things that would contribute for a minister to be at such a state of mind, whereby they are not, they are not well in their mind, as you have said.
One, I would say, the first thing, finances. Because the truth is, if you don't have money, for example, right now, and you are inadequate in your faith of believing God that He is able to provide, even in the situations that you might be in, it might cause you to enter into a place of depression, or even a place where you are not well in your mind. Yes, because, for example, if you don't have money to pay rent, you don't have food in your house, you don't have even money to buy clothes.
And yet the worship leader is demanding you have to have a new uniform this Sunday.
You're needed in church. And as you're saying, the ministers are very lonely. And sometimes because of the picture that has been portrayed, that we are perfect. Because when you bless people, the anointing has moved. You've blessed people. People seem to see that you're perfect, but they don't know about your personal and social life, how it is. So if you're lacking in money, it might be a contributor to your well-being in your mind, which is very key.
Money.
Yes.
Because you have to be, and I'm thinking about, you're in that state of lacking money, and there is a demand, placed on you by church. You have to be in all meetings, because you're the leader. You're expected to be in charge. You're expected to minister. And there is a demand placed upon you to be there on time, to be very committed in midweek services and on Sunday. And yet here you don't have money. And I think this is a major issue to most ministers.
Yes.
Not just worship leaders, whereby you're struggling financially, and yet there is a demand placed upon you. And what are some of the things, probably someone is asking? Because this could lead to probably maybe stress, burnout, or serving with grievances and your heart is too much full of pain and you're complaining, and you bless people and you're not blessed. You go home discouraged, yet you encouraged people. It's amazing how you minister to people and they are uplifted, they are blessed, but deep within yourself you have so much issues, unresolved issues. One, you've talked about money, so probably and our viewers probably, they're asking, yes, we have money. What else would you say would contribute to such a state of mind?
There is also a place of, you're not a disciplined person. That is, we've talked about, you're supposed to be committed. There is a demand of time. And let me tell you, if you've not come to a place where you've understood how to manage the time that God has given you, you might enter into a place where you are not well in your mind.
So you have to manage time.
Yes, you have to get to that place. Not only manage time, but you have to be disciplined. Because discipline is very key.
Explain this. Does it mean you have to look for a day to rest? Or what do you mean by discipline?
When I talk about discipline, this is what I mean. The first thing is you need to know that, one, I am a minister. I am needed in church at this particular time, at these particular hours, and in these particular days. So when you understand that, you're also supposed to understand what are the other things that I do. And all of them, you have to manage the time now. You have to put each and everything in order, because one, God has given us minds to use it to think and even plan ourselves. So if you don't plan yourself, for example, you are working, because there are people that are worship ministers and they are working. Others are in business and they are working. So if you're not able to plan yourself very well, it will lead to you feeling like there is pressure that is being amounted upon my life by these people. And also, there is this place you would say, and even they are not paying me.
If you're giving yourself too much, no appreciation.
Yes. So there is that place. So you have to learn discipline as an individual, especially discipline of time. So, and another thing, for example, if not every time, there are other times, you don't have to become everything to everyone. There are times that you have to tell yourself, there is a day I just have to switch off my phone. And you have to discipline yourself on that. Why are you switching off your phone? You are switching it off so that you can rest. And let your leader know, on this particular day, my phone is off, I am resting.
So you have to communicate prior to.
Yes.
Let me raise a point, and probably just reminding you someone, if you have a question on Facebook, please tag us with that question or a comment. Or if you're watching us on TV, there is an SMS line there. Make sure you forward your question, and we will be able to handle it. And we're talking about the welfare of our worship minister. And we are on the point of the mentor, whereby we have ministers, very lonely, others are into depression, others are into stress, others are burnout because they are working, overtime, just to make sure they are on time, meeting up the commitment and the expectant of the leaders. But there is one major thing that sounds funny, sounds simple, but it's affecting many. Since worship leaders are in the limelight, it's a ministry whereby everyone is seeing you. And there is a lot of pressure that comes with that. And you're of age and you're not married. Najua kuna watu hapa natetea sana. And immediately you're out of service, the first question, unao lini, mbona hujafanya ni? And all of a sudden, there is a pressure amounting. And all of a sudden, your mind is out. Or probably there is a pressure about your dressing. There is pressure about just your personal life, because your ministry is very vocal and very seen. How do you handle such pressures?
Let me start with the dressing place, because I have seen many worship ministers want to be excellent. But let me say first, it's good to be excellent in the work of God, but don't be excellent, then you're not pleasing God. The first place is the place of pleasing God, and leave what men are saying. The voice, there are so many voices. There is a song a man of God has sung from Nigeria that is saying, there are so many voices, but there is one voice that is very key. That is the voice of God. So if you can please God, leave all the other voices. Just silence all the other voices. Make sure that the first thing that you do, and even in your ministry, is the place of pleasing God. So you might come dressed because, as you were saying, you might not have the money. And you don't have the money to buy the clothes that maybe are being demanded with you. Or even you're seeing your fellow music ministers dressing on.
Because they are well off, probably some are working. And you're not working. How do you handle that?
So that's why I'm saying you have to accept yourself. Because that's also another thing. You have to accept that this is where I am. And as Solomon says, you have to be contented. Just be contented with where you are, knowing one thing, that this is not the last place that I shall be in. So every day,
not
God.
A competition.
Yes, it is not.
On who has the best design from Turkey or from where. Kama ni Gikomba ama Kamukunji, and you've met the standard of the uniform, that's okay.
Yes.
Because I believe most ministers are suffering because of the indifference in being well off financially. Because we have some that are well off and some are not.
Yes.
But when you come to the altar, to the face of the people, they are expecting to see a one team.
Yes.
So there is the pressure of you, meeting up the standard. So you find you're trying to outlive yourself, more than you can. It's tunasemanga in Swahili, unajaribu kuishi maisha yenye si yako.
Sure.
And all of a sudden you have a struggle deep within yourself. How do I handle such pressure? Na ish story ya marriage.
It is God that ordains times and seasons.
So no pressure.
You're not supposed to enter into any pressure.
No pressure.
If your peers are married, just leave them. you just continue serving God. When the right time comes, the right person, the right man, the right woman will come your way.
So please, congregation, please stop giving worship leaders pressure. You know, when are you getting married? Oh, what's up? Why are you late? Oh, why? You know, because you might be, you know, affecting the mental state of a leader to an extent whereby they walk out of church and instead of feeling loved, instead of feeling appreciated, you know, there is this pressure that they go out and they become so lonely.
Sure.
And let's talk about loneliness. And this thing is killing a lot of ministers. You know, and some are hurt, you know, some are wounded and very lonely, but still serving church. How do we handle loneliness of a worship leader?
And loneliness of a worship leader. You see, if you don't know that, one, you have to accept that I have gotten to a place where I am hurt. I am hurting. You know, many people, we come to serve, but we have not accepted our conditions. Because if you have not accepted your condition, you will not look for help. That's why many people are still serving, but they are still in issues. So you have to get to a place where you accept that, one, I am going through stuff. Maybe I am hurt. I am heartbroken. There are things that I'm not able to handle by myself. And also, after you've understood that, there is one thing. Is it when I keep it to myself, will it help me? When I open up, will it help me? And the latter is the most important thing. When you open up to a person, that may be the person that is carrying your miracle. That might be the person that is carrying the answer that you needed. Let me tell you, there is a time I was going through burnout myself. After I have preached, I think you remember the days of Kisii. There is a time I preached for like 2 months. Every weekend I am out. And you know, the truth is, you are preaching every day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And after the 2 months preaching all along, I came to a time. My wife is not in the house, and I was alone in the house. That week I didn't open my business. So the entire week I was watching a movie. And when my wife came back on Saturday, the stories that I started telling her were stories, because that entire week I called no one. I talked to no one. I was in the house. Little did I know that burnout has already taken over me. And if my wife never came up and kicked me and asked me, Ken, don't you know that you're entering into depression without your knowledge? I could have entered into depression without even me knowing. So that particular day when she came, I entered into prayer, because that is where I know my many answers come in.
You can express yourself.
Yes. So, and you see, I was lonely at that particular time. I didn't have anyone to talk to. I didn't even want to talk to anyone, because I felt that people even don't understand. But the root cause was not even the loneliness. Was not wanting me to be alone.
Burnout.
It was the burnout.
Now, just hold on that. Our viewers, I hope you're learning something and you're getting something. And if you have a comment or a question, please make sure you talk to us on our SMS line on Elevate TV and also on Facebook. Make sure you just post your question down there and we shall be able to go through it. But right about now, we are taking a short break. Just make sure you share the link on Facebook with your friends and tell them, by the way, we are coming to the second segment and I hope you not miss out. But right about now, just keep it locked and we will be back in the next few minutes. God bless you.
Parenting in the 21st century and in nowadays is not as used to be.
Right now, as we talk, we are so overburdened.
Okay.
Because we are running up and down
Yes.
to try and make ends meet.
True. How do you prepare the child for the world?
If you don't teach your child to be assertive,
Yes.
he will give in, or she will give in. Yeah.
Wow.
This has to come from you as the parent.
What would you say are some of the ingredients of parenting?
There are two powerful ingredients
Right.
in parenting.
Okay.
Love and structure.
Pastor Irene, someone is watching and wondering, you guys, you are being over spiritual.
Talking about sexual purity in the aspect of a single individual, it means that first you're not pointing it out to your future husband. It means you're giving yourself as a sacrifice to the Lord.
You decide to be wicked, it is hard. Yes. You decide to be pure, it is hard. Choose your heart. My friends, there is a remnant or a generation that is waiting for you. So every time you're out there enjoying yourself, remember there's a blind man waiting for you to start behaving so you can go and pray for them.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to this week's edition of the Worship Clinic. We are talking about the welfare of a worship leader. You know, every area, the health or the well-being of a worship minister in all areas, being mental, be it spiritual, be it financial. But, you know, we've been talking about the mental wellness of a worship leader in the first segment, and it is major. And before we went to the break, you know, we were trying to encourage people that have gone through such issues. Probably you've been a minister and you've gone through, depression, burnout, stress, loneliness, and so much pressures that comes through ministry, and probably the congregation doesn't or are not aware of, and most ministers are suffering. That's what we are tackling today, and we have Pastor Ken Jogu with us from Life Church Lemuru to help us, in trying to dissect these matters. But before we go back to the story of Pastor Ken, I just want to read some few feedbacks that we have on Facebook, as we remind you to keep on sharing the link or the live video feed with your friends and tell them to join us. I can see John Kimwere is tuned in. I can see Alex Katiku. I can see Ebi Nangila. We have George Kerry watching. We have Daniel Kimeu also watching. We have Sally Wairera all the way from Namanga. And we have Ann Mill saying that she's saying that watching from Saudi. So we have people watching us, from Saudi Arabia. We have Daniel Kimeu saying tuned in. Then we have Alex Katiko with such an amazing point. He's saying, I think we have two extremes here. A full-time and a part-time minister as far as commitments is concerned. Those who suffer much in mental disorder are the full-time ministers, those people that are employed. They are full-time. They are co-workers in church. Then he's saying why? Because not every time you will be on the pulpit. You have a morning devotion, you're supposed to minister. Then you have 5 hours until lunch hour. Then you have another 5 hours until the evening service. And he's asking now, the unused time, the time in between. You have, what do you do? The unused time that you have, what do you do with it? Will you be praying all through? Are you expected, immediately after morning devotion, you pray until lunch hour. After lunch hour, you have to pray until evening service. What are you supposed to do with that time? He's asking, will you be praying all through? Or does your church allow you to do something extra for yourself? And he's saying, I think it is one of the biggest things that brings mental torture. So full-time ministers,
Let me tell you, if I was a full-time minister, I would have been a very happy man. When I have all that time.
You have a lot of free time.
Yes, because...
But now Alex is asking, what do you do with all this time?
Because if I have time, because not many people have time. If I have time, I'll use it to study. If I have time, I'll use it to pray. If I have time, that is when I'm supposed to plan my own life. And the truth is, the time that seems to be a lot is not a lot. Let me just tell you something, Danny. When it comes to knowing the things of God, it takes a lot of time. And now, someone is saying that you have the time. So with the understanding that I have been given time, I'll use the time effectively. But you see now, the place where maybe Alex is coming from is a person that has not yet understood themselves, because there is also a place of, apart from you being a worship minister, do you really know what else that you can do with yourself? Because if you've not understood that also can cause mental torture, because you have time that you're not using.
His concern is, what does the church allow you to do something for yourself with that time, or are you supposed to be in church full time because you are a co-worker? You know, church is your place of employment. You have to report here at 6 and leave immediately after the evening service.
That depends with the leadership of the church. That so much depends with them. And I believe also there is the place of speaking to your leader. You see, many of us are afraid. But if I come, you're my leader, I come, sit down with you and tell you, I feel that this time that is in between my morning service and lunch hour is a lot of time, and I can use it to do something else. If they agree, and I believe many of them will agree, just use that time to do something else. And most of the times, use it to build yourself up. For example, if you're being paid in church and the money is able to take care of all your bills and for you to be settled, just use the money to grow yourself. Use the time to grow yourself and also to build yourself up. Because as I have told you, even worship today, Danny, you've been a worshiper for a very long time. But I'll tell you the truth, there are things that you still don't know about worship. Yeah. There are things that you read 5 years ago, and that is what is helping you today. And what you read today is what may help you in the next 5 years.
So using that time to grow yourself.
Yes.
Now, Pastor Ken, someone told me that most people, especially the congregation, will run to ministers for solutions when they are in problems. Now, where do ministers run to when they have issues? Now, we have a worship leader who is in depression, who is going through a lot of issues, loneliness, you know, financial struggles, and, you know, it's affecting their state of mind, their health. Who do they talk to? Do they talk to leaders, to pastors, counselors? You know, where do we go to?
We have men of God that God has ordained for other men of God.
We have men of God that God has ordained for
other men of
God.
Other men of God.
So every man of God has a man of God.
Not specifically, but there are men that you will find that they have a heart for other ministers. That if you go to them, they are willing to walk with you through the journey and maybe through the issue that you're going through. And also another thing, you see, for example, you need to surround yourself with true friends, because something else about us as ministers, and even I believe worship ministers, is we are in a place where we don't trust everyone. You're not willing to open up your heart. Yes, you're not willing to open up your heart to everybody.
You open up to someone next week, home cell, you are the topic.
and that's why I believe we will be tackling that. That's why it's important, even when you're going through issues, just go back to God. Just tell him, whom do I go speak to? And that's why I said it is very important to accept that you're in a problem.
First of all, it takes you accepting that you have an issue.
Yes.
But now let's talk about depression, because it's killing a lot of young people, especially in church. And you're like, some of them are ministers. Would you suggest as a church to come up with a program whereby, or a department that, because I've not had a department. We have counseling, but how vocal is counseling department, especially on mental issues of ministers?
For example, I'll give you an example. In our church, we have a department called The Journey. The Journey is a counseling department where people come that have issues, and we are able to talk to them when we identify what they are going through, because in that department we have counselors, people that have done counseling professionally. So when they come, we are able, after we've heard from a professional place, then we understand on how even to help that particular person from a spiritual place. So it might work, and in other places it might not work. There is the place of, there are churches that don't have even a counselor in that particular church. So you might, and you find that even hiring that counselor might be a lot of money, because they charge a lot of money. So I would say it is important, because the things that disturb even ministers and even other members, there is a very good solution. That is, if you can open up, because the biggest problem is you are not willing to open up. You are not willing to be vulnerable. But if you can be willing to be vulnerable, because for example, the guy that you talked to, if he didn't open up, maybe in the next coming days we would be talking of another case. True. But because he opened up, there is a solution that he is already getting. So the first thing, after you've known you're going through a problem, just approach your spiritual leader. Approach a pastor if there are many pastors. Approach your cell leader. Open up. Tell them, this is what I'm going through. And after you've opened up, there shall be a solution that God will provide.
A solution. And I think we need to encourage our viewers, especially ministers, not to feel vulnerable when it comes to opening up to the people that you minister to.
Yes.
Because I think, like the guy we're talking about, one of the major issues I asked, why don't you talk to a leader in your church? And there is the fear of, these are the same people I ministered. These are the same people, they hold me, this high, in church, they get blessed by my ministry. Now, how do I go back to them and expose my weakness or my issues to them?
Danny, there is something that people don't understand. You see, when we stand here, it's not us that blesses people.
So we need to carry this burden.
Yes, it's not us. It is God that blesses people. So we minus God, we are nothing. True. And God, there is something that, you see, God understands that we are men. And when he brought us on earth, he knew that a man is limited. A man has limitations. And some of those limitations are what we are talking about. And God knows that man will go through some of those things. And so if this man is not willing to be helped, and that's why when someone asks me, Ken, are you a man of God? I tell them, I am a man being helped by God. Because it is God that is helping me do his work. Because the work that we are doing is not mine, it is his. So God understands that we have struggles, we have limitations. And those limitations, another man is able to help us.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, please, this is major. A question or an experience you would want to share with us. Probably you're a minister watching us, and you are sick, and you would want to share your story, just reach out to us, because I'm looking forward to a person, that would be openly share their story of how they've gone through such issues, and they would want to encourage someone. But now, let me ask a question as Pastor Ken, as we continue with this topic. Now, we have all these issues, and as you've talked, we have limitations. What can a person do? Let's try and break it down now to simplicity. Now, what are you supposed to do? Number one, you've talked about openness. You've talked about accepting that you have an issue. Now, the place of rest, the place of seeking out to the man of God and all that, and your help. Is there a spiritual remedy to this? Now we've talked about what we can do here. What is the spiritual remedy on it, or what we can call the spiritual welfare that can sort this mental? You've talked about prayer. What are some of the other spiritual remedies that you would, direct someone to try this one, by the way?
You see, when we were talking about mental well-being, you see, mental well-being and physical well-being are very important, and that's why we've talked about rest. Because if you're not healthy physically, for example, today, if you are amputated, you might not be able to come and minister. You will not be effective.
You need to have a good balanced diet.
Yes.
You need to eat well.
Some of these things are very important, and that's why physical health is also very important.
Exercise.
Yes. Do exercise. You are a person that is using your voice. There are things you're not supposed to take. There are things that you know very well that if I take this on Sunday, I'll not be effective. So take care of yourself physically, even as you take care of yourself mentally. And also you have to take care of yourself spiritually. So we cannot say that the spiritual well-being will cover up your physical well-being. No.
Every area has its own place.
Yes, it has its own place. You have to make sure, and that's why I talked about discipline. You have to make sure that you're taking care of yourself physically, mentally, and also spiritually. So when we talk about spiritual well-being, let me tell you, one of the greatest remedies to some of these things is sincerity to God.
Sincerity to God.
The Bible speaks of this. One of the men that was so sincere, that was open to God, was David. David he was not afraid to tell God what he is going through.
No.
And it is also the same thing, that when you understand that there are things that you're going through, when you understand that you are under a certain, you are in a place where you are not able to move forward because of the issues that you're facing, go back to him. Just tell him, Father, here I am. How am I supposed to move forward? And let me tell you, in that place is where we are refilled. Because, for example, when we talk about a burnout, when we are talking about a burnout, we are talking about a man that has given.
Yourself, and you're serving.
Yes, and there is no place of refilling. So the moment that you understand that I'm in a burnout, just go back to God. Allow him to fill you once again. And the moment that you start being refilled, there is a refreshment that comes in. The Bible says that the times of refreshing are when you understand this is the direction I was taking. Repent or turn around and go back to him. At the place where God is, you will find refreshment. God will refresh you, and you will be able to minister to people more effectively.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard for yourself. You need to be sincere with God. He is our employer. That's he kazi kona mwenyewe. We are serving a God, to whom that we serve. When we have issues in the line of duty, we go to him for refreshment, as you have said. So if you have a question, again, a comment, please tag us on all our social media sites. That's on Facebook, Elevate TV, and also on Instagram, and also on YouTube, Elevate TV Kenya. That's our YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe to it, and also follow us on Twitter. Them that are watching us at Elevate TV, we have an SMS line there. Please, 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 We are looking forward to your feedback, to your question, or to your comment, and I know the Lord will bless you. Keep sharing, and I know the Lord will bless you. Now, we are finalizing on this topic, Pastor Ken, because unfortunately our time is running out, and and I'm trying to picture, to put myself in a place of a minister. That have these three things to balance, the physical, the mental, and the spiritual. Yet now we are talking in line of ministry, but they have an outside, they have their social life. Now, how do you handle social life with ministry so that one cannot eat into the other? Or whereby you find you come into church and you carrying a burden, a lot of issues, family issues, probably you have work issues, and they're eating up to your mental state, to your physical state or spiritual state, yet there is a demand in church. You're expected to minister. And unfortunately, when you're coming to minister, you're ministering to people that are almost in the same issue. Some are brokenhearted, some they are into depression, some are sick, and they are expecting on your ministration, to start up the healing. They are coming to church to look for solutions, but you have a social life that has a lot of issues. How do you balance social life and ministry?
As I was saying, the work that we do on the pulpit, it's not our work. It is God's work.
It's God's work.
And if it's God's work, there are times that maybe because you didn't get time to spend time with God, and you came to church with your challenges, and you're expected to minister. There is a place, I would say, the place of the mercy of God, that you will stand and minister and people are blessed, even when you're going through challenges. And that's why we were saying, sometimes you finished ministering and people are, and when you're leaving, people are telling you how you blessed them, whereas you yourself, the things that you're going through. Yes, but also there is a place of understanding as a minister that the work that you're doing, being God's work, you have to spend time with Him before you go to minister to His people. And in the place of spending time with God, that is the place where, for example, He will minister to you. You see, when we go to spend time with God, there are two things. There is a place of talking to God, especially when it comes to prayer, and there is a place of God talking to you. And especially when you're going to minister, you're supposed to spend time with God, not you talking to Him. Because the people that you're coming to minister to are not your people. They are God's people. So it is Him that knows what they need at a particular time. So you should spend time listening from Him.
More than you're talking to Him.
Yes, listening from Him. And as you listen from Him, He is able to give you directions and even refill you and fill you with the right grace for that particular meeting.
All right, let me read some feedbacks here, then we just wind up the show. This one is from Queen Atalia. Queen Atalia is saying, feeling blessed from Utawala Airways. And he's saying, as a minister, I think I have to let go of the physical and mental welfare, assuming that my spiritual welfare would cover up, and saying this talk is timely and is so much encouraged. Do not neglect your mental health or mental well-being or your physical well-being with an excuse that the spiritual welfare will cover it up. It is your responsibility. Take care of yourself, your mind, and also your physical. Then Alex is saying, just a thought with my small experience, and he's saying, talking of depression and opening up, I think it depends with the environment you're in, and I think you've talked about that. He's saying, I have been there, being under a good pastor in church, so good, soft-spoken, but that confidence to share your issues with is not there. And mind you, this is not fear, it's just the confidence to share. It's not just, then he says, I recommend, since worship leaders are serving God, they are still under our authority, in their respective churches, they should be taken for an out-of-church experience. You know, you need to come up with programs for ministers, not just every time co-workers meeting, every time revival meetings, lunch hour meetings. They need to go out for outdoor experiences, you know, for sporting, you know, something that will challenge their mind. You know, and saying interact, play, swim. Then at the end of the day, provide some good time for them to express themselves. You know, spiritual things needs to be tackled spiritually, and physical things physically. It also applies to other ministers. So, Pastor Ken, as we wind up the show, what would be your parting shot or your last sentiments concerning this topic, the welfare, generally?
Let me say something about what Alex has said. That's also another way, because as I have said, Danny, we need to get to a place where we accept we need help. And acceptance of the need of help is the place where now, because also I can take you to an outdoor activity, but it will not sort out, for example, a burnout. It will not sort it out. Because for a burnout, if you, for example, you are in ignorance, you don't know that a burnout is sorted out in the place of prayer. So if you don't speak to a person that has gone ahead of you, it might not help you. So it is a very good thing.
But do you think as a church, do we have such platforms like the ones he's you know, suggesting, an outdoor experience whereby people can easily express themselves or talk?
And you see, it's a very good idea, and it's something that I would recommend also. I would recommend people to go out. But after you've gone out, are you willing to share? Because that's also another thing. Are you willing to open up what you're going through? But it is a very good place. But the people that are going out, that's why we are talking, because we are talking about ministers, and we are talking about people that are careful with their hearts. Because I am a minister, Danny, and I'll tell you the truth. I am very careful with my heart. My heart is one secret place that I'll not let anyone in, because I know what I have gone through other days. So, and I understand where Alex is coming from. You may lack the confidence, but you have to tell yourself, I need help.
So you have to accept.
Yes, and you have to tell yourself that you need help and go for it. Because if you don't go for it, the enemy will continue, you will continue deteriorating. And the last thing we know, you are a worst case scenario, which we are not able to handle. Yes.
Now your parting shot, and your last one. Regan Trevor is saying, watching from Kasarani Locked. God bless you for keeping that. So your last sentiments.
I would say this, as ministers, let's be responsible. Let's be responsible for our own lives. And let's not think that God will be responsible, especially for our physical lives. We have to enter to a place where we understand that the bodies that we carry are the temples of the Holy Spirit. And the Holy Spirit is God himself. And if we don't take care of these bodies, the Lord may not find a better place to reside. So it is very key for us to take care of ourselves physically and mentally.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard for yourself. Take care of yourself physically, mentally, be at a place whereby also your spiritual well-being can also be well nourished. But remember, this is the point that I myself am going home with, that you cannot use the spiritual welfare as an excuse to try and cover up for your failure of taking of your mental wellness and your physical wellness. It is your responsibility. You know, have rest, open up, accept you have a problem, talk to people, you know, have a balanced diet, do physical exercises. And in any case, you have external forces that contribute to your, your state of mind not being well, or your psychological state not being well. Look for counselors, look for leaders, look for your pastors, people that you're submitted unto, or friends, and talk to them. Open up to someone, because who knows that your opening up might be your solution. But remember this topic, and I believe we should have a series, and if God wills, we need to have a professional counselor, you know, someone to come and talk to us. And I'm looking forward to someone who have gone through an issue of depression or loneliness, stress, burnout, and you're a minister or a worship leader, and you would want to share your story with people. Please reach out on all our social media sites, and we shall be able to get in touch with you so that your story can encourage someone out there. But right about now, I have nothing much to say, but to say see you next time, next Thursday, same time, here on Elevate TV. And also remember to follow us on all our social media sites, Elevate TV. That's on Facebook, that's on Twitter, that's on Instagram. And remember, on YouTube, we are at Elevate TV Kenya. Subscribe, and also share our live feed with your friends. God bless you. See you next time. I have been your host, Danny Gift.
Elevate TV, advancing kingdom lifestyle.
Well, welcome to the Apostolic Nuggets. This is a short